Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. My name is Brittany Page from The Page Perspective right here on YouTube, and I am still your guest host for today while David is out. It looks like conservatives are very upset about a graduation commencement speech that is suddenly going viral. The speech was given a few days ago, but it's suddenly blowing up, so we definitely need to talk about it. 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley gave a speech during commencement at Wake Forest University in North Carolina. And while he doesn't mention Trump's name, it is clear what he's talking about when he's speaking to the graduates. We're going to play a bit of his speech here, and then we will get into some specific complaints from triggered conservatives. Here is Scott Pelley at Wake Forest University.
I'm a reporter, so I won't bury the lead. Your country needs you. The country that has given you so much is calling you. The class of 2025. Your country needs you, and it needs you today. As a reporter, I've learned to respect opinions. Reasonable people differ about the life of our country. And America works well when we listen to those that we disagree with, where we listen to those and we disagree with and have common ground and compromise. And one thing we can all agree on, one thing at least, America is at her best when everyone is included. To move forward, we debate, not demonize.
Have you heard anything offensive yet? Triggering? Your country needs you. We need to listen to people that we disagree with. We're better when everyone's included. I mean, I guess I can see how that would send certain people over the edge, given they don't want everyone to be included. And in fact, they want to restrict freedoms and rights for people they hate. But I don't know. Maybe we should see where else this goes. Maybe he calls Trump scum or something, like Trump called the people he hates on Memorial Day. Didn't see widespread upset at that one from conservatives. Let's see where this goes.
To move forward, we debate, not demonize. We discuss, not destroy. But in this moment, this morning, our sacred rule of law is under attack. Journalism is under attack. Universities are under attack. Freedom of speech is under attack. And insidious fear is reaching through our schools, our businesses, our homes, and into our private thoughts. The fear to speak in America.
All right, well, there it is. All of that still completely uncontroversial, but Trump lackeys don't appreciate when you speak the truth. Is the rule of law not under attack? Are universities not under attack? Did we not talk about Trump's attacks on Harvard yesterday on this show? Yes, we did. Have there been additional developments there in the form of Trump seeking to cancel about $100 million in contracts with Harvard? What about this development? Let me read this briefly from CNN. Quote, the U.S. State Department has instructed U.S. embassies and consulates around the world to pause new student visa appointments as it develops guidance to expand social media screening and vetting to all applicants for student visas, according to a diplomatic cable seen by CNN. Social media screening and vetting to ensure that you have the correct opinions. If you've publicly expressed admiration for Trump, you're good to go. If you've written an op-ed he disagrees with, no dice. An attack on speech, yes. Have we not spent today's episode and yesterday's episode talking about the endless self-dealing, corruption, and pay-to-play happening daily with this administration? I mean, anyone who is outraged by these basic facts as described by Scott Pelley is simply not paying attention. And maybe we should get to a few of those people now. Let's look at this Trump supporter, Scott Adams, and what he posted on Twitter. Quote, "Liberals who once controlled speech and the power to censor are now upset that a majority of Americans now reject their lies and deception." 60 Minutes' Scott Pelley raged at Trump in an angry, unhinged commencement address at Wake Forest as he speaks openly and freely in America. You know, reading something like that makes me think that Scott Adams is, number one, a liar, and or two, has very little experience with conflict, I guess, because in what world was Scott Pelley angry and unhinged in his speech? He sounded passionate, sure. Angry and unhinged? No. Scott did not grow up in the Page household, I'll tell you that. He'd be able to clock angry and unhinged before someone even opened their mouth, if he did, let me tell you. Let's hear from one more concerned conservative, well, two. Megyn Kelly and Maureen Callahan, who reacted to part of Scott Pelley's speech. In fact, I'm going to leave part of his speech that they are reacting to in this clip.
The Wake Forest class of 1861, they did not choose their time of calling. The class of 1941 did not choose. The class of 1968 did not choose. History chose them. And now history is calling you, the class of 2025.
So that's the Civil War, World War II, and the Civil Rights Movement. That's the same moment we're in now, as free speech is under attack and universities are under attack and somebody's private thoughts are filled with fear. I believe he speaks of himself, and that's his inspirational message to the class of 2025 at Wake Forest University.
He seems like a fun time.
Doesn't he? Good job.
That's exactly what I want to hear as I'm going out into the world and about to embark on my life. And it should be the most optimistic, hopeful time. And those are I'll say this, my commencement speaker, you may be surprised.
So actually, I don't care. I decided, and I can't take much more of that. So sorry, every one of you were looking forward to her answer. You could go find it. But I do think it's funny. The main criticism appears to be, hey, quit bumming us out, man. He should be standing up there holding a keg and setting up beer pong. Do people still play beer pong? And telling everyone, relax, enjoy your lives, nothing matters. No, actually, I think it's great that young people are being reminded that they are the future, that they have a purpose, that they have something to contribute, especially in what feels like, for many of us, a lot of the time, a hopeless situation. To be reminded of one's agency and ability to contribute to change and to what the future is going to look like, that is really powerful. And it says a lot that, I recorded an hour show for David yesterday and I'm doing an hour today. And I feel like I'm talking about stuff that matters. And compare that to what you just heard from them. Scott is bumming us out versus the endless corruption and human rights violations from the Trump administration. What have people done to sell their souls to power? And while people may be afraid to speak against this administration, and I know David has talked about the concerns about threats to our platforms here, I don't think we have a choice. And that's why we're still out here talking about the threat that is Donald Trump. I'd love to know what you think about this in the comments below.
So I learned a while ago that I was clenching and grinding my teeth at night, not on purpose, not because I was necessarily stressed out by something obvious, but grinding and clenching without even knowing it. And when I talked to my dentist about it, about getting a night guard, it was a whole thing: appointment, mold, waiting, a bill that seemed very high. And ultimately, I found Remy, and Remy is our sponsor today. Remy sends a kit right to your door to take an impression of your teeth with super clear step-by-step instructions. You send it back to them and they will custom make your night guard right here in the United States, in Las Vegas specifically. No waiting rooms, no overpriced bills, just a better way to protect your teeth while you sleep. Try Remy risk-free at shopremy.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman to get 50% off your night guard at checkout. The link is in the description.